Hello and welcome. My name is Debbie Oberste, and it is my pleasure to present Teaching Math Games with Card Games. Yes, you can. This is based on the work of Dr. Jonah Cotter. And since we're going to be spending the next 30 minutes or so together, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about myself. I started homeschooling way back in 1993. Actually, it was in September of 1993, and I gave birth to our third daughter in October of 1993. Yeah, this older self would love to go back to the younger self and say, "What were you thinking?" But you know what? I just knew that I started school in the day after Labor Day, so I didn't know any better. We started school the day after Labor Day. But anyway, I may have regretted starting so soon to having a baby, but I have never regretted my journey in homeschooling. And I'm looking forward to getting to share with you some of the things that I learned along the way. Now, here's a picture of my children. My youngest is now a freshman in college. I have 3 grandchildren, and I also teach at a school. It's an outsourcing school here in Texas. I also do an online math class where I also have them play math card games online. And can I just take a second and just have a shout out to how thankful I am for technology? 26 years ago, there is no way if our homeschooling conference got canceled that we would have been able to do an online conference like we're able to do right now. So while I'm sorry that I don't get to see you in person and get to chat with you afterwards, I am glad that there is this alternative. So sit back, enjoy, and see that yes, you can teach math with card games. Some children, like a few of my daughters, actually enjoyed worksheets. However, for many children, doing these kind of worksheets can be a battle. My oldest son would get so resistant. He didn't know why he had to keep doing something he already knew, and he would end up having a meltdown. Actually, we would end up having a meltdown. Fine. All right, so let's just do flashcards since I didn't think he knew his facts quick enough. And flashcards are what I used when I was in school, so if they're good enough for me, then they're going to be good enough for my children. But let's be honest, who likes flashcards? Usually the ones who like flashcards are the ones who don't need them. Did you know 1 in 7 children have learning challenges? Or in my case, 3 of my 6 children did. And they find rote memorization extremely difficult. Information stored with negative feelings tends to be forgotten. And for many, all flashcards do is cause math anxiety. And let's be honest again, flashcards did not work any better for my children than they did for me. Before I get into some of the different games, I want to take a second and talk about rote memorization. If you are trying to get your child to memorize their facts without understanding, know right now, rote memorization is high maintenance. Think about it. There are almost 400 math facts we are wanting our children to memorize. And sadly, whatever is learned by rote needs frequent review to stay learned. So, what's something you could do? Let's add in some math games. Games are to math as books are to reading. So when my child would learn to read, I would start them reading out of books according to their ability. It was a great way they could show off to dad, hey, I know how to read. Well, when a child is learning math, how do we make sure they're understanding? Unless they're working with fractions, so we bake or maybe we'll do some carpentry or something. It's challenging to come up with things. Something that games do is they provide instant feedback. So when I played games with my children, and I still play with my grandchildren, as well as some of my students that I tutor, I can tell quickly when we are playing a game if they are understanding. And I also can tell when we're playing a game, their understanding developing as we're playing. Games provide that interesting repetition needed for automatic responses. All right, so filling out a worksheet may be quick for some, as is flashcards, but they are not interesting. Practice is needed for the facts to become automatic, and games allow for a more pleasant experience in mastering those. And more importantly, games provide an application for the new information. Just like I said a second ago, games will give you a fun way to apply the new information that's being learned. So here's a game. It's called Go to the Dump, and it's to learn and master the facts of 10. This is played best with 2 to 4 players. You're going to need some basic number cards from 1 to 9. You can use a regular deck of cards, or you can make some with index cards. I would suggest cutting the index cards in half to make it more manageable to hold. And of course, the goal, you want to collect the most pairs. Now, research has shown that children learn their facts easier if they use strategies. And so the strategy used in this game is to find the facts that make 10. This game is based on the game of Go Fish, and children love this game. You're going to shuffle the deck of your cards, and then you're going to deal 5 cards to each person. Now, since I'm teaching you this game, the cards are going to be laid face up. But in a real game, you would want to hold your cards so that no one else can see them, unless your child is young and they have trouble holding their cards. Then fine, everybody lay their cards flat on the table. Everyone's going to start by looking to see if they are holding any pair of cards that equal 10 when added. So do I have any? No. Over here, next person, yes. Now, if your child does not know their facts that make 10 yet, allow them to use manipulatives like an abacus or tiles or beans, or, you could even have your child write out the facts before you play the game, and then they can refer to that if they need it. When they lay their set down, you want them to tell you why they're laying them down. So in this case, it's because 4 plus 6 equals 10. I wonder if I have any pairs. There's one pair. Ooh, look, another pair. You get to lay them all down. The game is going to be played clockwise, so you're going to be asking the person to your left. Now, you could play where you ask any player, but that makes it a bit more complicated. So wait until your child is pretty good with their facts of 10 before you do that. So the first person is looking at their 7, and they ask, hey, do you have a 3? I do. Here you go. And again, I'll say, why are you laying those cards down? And of course, the younger children think it's funny. Because 7 and 3 make 10, Mom. And of course, as they get older, kind of judge on if you're going to continue asking them. But it is a great way to reinforce their facts if they have to tell you what it is as they're laying them down. They get to go again. Do you have an 8? Nope. Go to the dump. So you're going to grab a card out of the stack in the middle. And now it's the next person's turn. So they're going to start with their 4. They're going to ask the person to their left, do you have a 6? Go to the dump. I just have to tell you, my grandchildren think it is hilarious to tell me to go to the dump when we play this game. They get to go to the dump. Oh, but look, they got a match. So they get to lay their cards down because they got a match. 1 plus 9 is 10. But since they already went to the dump, their turn is over. Now it's the third person's turn. So to the left, they're asking, do you have a 9? Well, yes, I do. Here you go. Oh, look, they've played all their cards. But the game is not over. They haven't won yet. They get to take 5 more cards out of the middle stack. This game is over when this stack in the middle is done. It's gone. All right, and we just keep going. Now it's your turn. Do you have an 8? And like I said, you keep going around till the middle stack is gone. The beauty of this game is your child is mastering their facts without realizing that is what they're doing, because they think this game is fun. Just like Go Fish, this is one of those games children like to play long after they have their facts of 10 memorized. So once all the matches are played, the game is over, and you can stack your two piles into one pile and then bring all the piles in the middle. They can compare heights to identify who the winner is. Now, my kids, even though I did this, they still wanted to count their cards, and that's fine. Go ahead, count your cards. However, you don't need to. Whoever has the highest stack, that's the winner. There is an app for your devices that's based on Go to the Dump. It's called Go to 10. So you can look that up. It's good on Androids and iPhones. There are some variations of Go to the Dump. You could play Go to the Dump with 11s if you're wanting to work on mastering your facts of 11. You're going to play with pairs of cards that make 11. So you can use your number cards 1 through 10, or if you want to make it a little bit more challenging, just use the number cards 2 through 9. You could play Go to the Dump with 9s. You're going to use your cards from 1 to 8. But note this, make sure that the facts of 10 are solid before you start playing any of these variations with your kids, because it's the facts of 10 that's going to help them have strategies and how to figure out some of the ways to get the answers for these other problems, these other variations. So here's a game. This is called Short Chain Solitaire. It's an addition game. And just take a second, notice it's a solitaire game. I love solitaire games because the child can play these by themselves. It is really good to have some games that your children can play by themselves, especially if mom's having a sick day, or maybe you have to run errands. You're just not able to get much schooling done that day, formal schooling. You could say, hey, go play this game. They're going to build the following 4 chains, and if done correctly, this is what it will look like at the end. This is pretty neat. So this chain, and before I get into how to play the game, the chain is composed of links. So here, 1 plus 8 is what? It's 9. Well, what's 8 plus 9? It's 17. So for this game, we're going to disregard any ones that would be in the tens place. So they would grab the 7 to lay down. What's 9 plus 7? It's 16. Again, we're disregarding any number that's in the tens place for this game. So they're going to find a 6, they'll lay it down, and they continue. 7 plus 6, 13. 6 plus 3 is 9. 3 plus 9 is 12. We're disregarding the tens. 9 plus 2 is 11. But it's not done. This is what's so cool. Look at this pattern. 2 plus 3. What is the answer? 3. Look at that. How cool is that? Look at the bottom of the next one. 6 plus 3 is what? 9. 8 plus 9 is 17. Of course, we're disregarding the tens. 4 plus 7, 11. We disregard the tens place. We have the 1. So it is a continuous chain. That's what makes this game so cool. There's also some other patterns that you can see throughout this game. My boys, oh my gosh, they loved finding patterns. So part of the game could be to locate the different patterns after the chain is completed. Now, this pattern, this is probably the most important pattern. Notice that the bottom row is the same as the top row. When you play this game, this is how you know you have reached the end of the column. When you lay down the same number as you started with in that column, it is completed. So in here, when I get down, I lay this 1 down. I know that I'm not going to lay any other cards. I'm not going to add 2 plus 1 and add my 3 down here. I have ended my column. So this is a great way to know when it is to stop. You're going to use 36 specific cards. So you're going to need at least 2 decks of playing cards, or you can cut some index cards in half and write the numbers on each card. So this is what you're going to need. The top is your number. That's the actual number that would be on the card. The second number is the amount you will need of those numbers. So for example, 0, we're not going to use any zeros. So we don't even need to bother with that. 1, the number 1, you're going to need 6 ones. You'll need 3 2s. You're going to need 6 3s. You're going to need 3 4s. We get to 5, look, none. We're not going to use 5 in this game. We're going to need 3 6s, 6 7s, 3 8s, and 6 9s. You'll take all those cards, shuffle them together. You're going to lay the cards in fans of 3 because there's 36 cards. So you're going to end up with 12 fans with 3 cards. You can lay them out if you want, 4 over and 3 down. It's totally up to you. For this game, we're laying them over in fans. You have 3 over, 4 down for a total of 12. Now, an advanced student could lay down 9 fans with 4 cards. It's going to make it a little bit more challenging. So it just depends where your child's at on what kind of fans you're going to lay down. Very important, you want to provide a list of the first 2 rows of the numbers in the first 2 rows. Otherwise, how would your child know what they're supposed to start with? The goal is to start the top row of numbers, but you can only use a card if it's laying on the top of a fan. So let's start with the 1. I have 3 places available. Which one will I choose? Well, since I didn't make this PowerPoint, I am at the whim of the PowerPoint creator. So let's see which one was picked. All right. Now you could work on laying out the row with the 3 and the 9 or the 7, or you could start on the column. So you'd have to put an 8 on this column. But if you look, there's no 8s on top of the fan. So we're going to work on making our row. 3 is the next one. That's as good a number as any. Oh, look, I have a 3 available. Let's lay it down. Now, I could play an 8 on the 1. I could play a 4 on the 3, or I could continue building the first row with a 9 or a 7. Look at all those 9s. So I can choose which one. You know, some children, they're just going to grab the first 9 they see, while others, they're going to start to look at it strategically. The creator of the PowerPoint is looking at the 9 with the 4 and the 7 below it. I would probably play the 9 with the 2 6s underneath, since there's already a 4 and a 7 here, and then there's a 7 and a 4 up here. Which one would you choose? All right, this is the one that was chosen. All right, we might as well just finish out the row. I have 7s. Lay my 7 down. And now we can look at playing a card to form the second row. Can we play any 8s? No, they're all buried. So we need to move on. How about the 4? Oh, there's some to choose from. This 4 would be useful, more so than the 3, because 3 and 4 make 7, and there's a 2 at the bottom we could play. So we're going to lay this 4 down. And so again, I have choices. I could play here, 3 plus 4 is 7, or I could work on building my row. We're going to lay our 7 down. Again, what's 4 plus 7? It's 11. I have some ones available. We're disregarding the tens place, so I'm only going to need to use one of these ones. We could use 8. So which one is going to be chosen? All right, so we lay our 1 down. And we could play this 8 in 2 places. We could lay it on the 1 in the first column to build that second row, or 7 plus 1 is 8. So we're going to lay it over there so we can work on getting that row completed. Wow, look at this. 1 plus 8 is 9. Look at all those 9s, whoops, I have to choose from. So I'm going to lay a 9 down. 8 plus 9 is 17, so I could play a 7 here. 7 plus 1 is 8. I don't have any 8s. I can't play on that one. I need a 2 here. Oh, there's some 2s available. Or I could play a 6. Ooh, all my 6s are still buried. All right, well, let's continue building our row. So I'm going to lay the 2 down. So now I have 9 plus 2 is 11. So I could play a 1. Or 8 plus 9 is 17. I could play a 7. My 8. Ooh, I could play an 8. So I have a lot of choices here. Look at all the math your child is doing just playing this game. And because it's a game and they think it's fun, they're not even realizing all the math that they're doing. So I'm going to play the 1. And again, I can look, see what I need to do. The 6s are still not available. I can't finish out my row. I could play a 2 plus 1 is 3. I could play my 8. I could play the 7. All right, we're going to play the 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. I play my 4. 3 plus 4 is 7. 4 plus 7 is 11. I could play my 1. Ah, look, both 8s are available now. So I could play an 8 here. I could play an 8 on here. We're going to play our 8 here. 1 plus 8 is 9. Look at what we did. We just finished our column. I know that when I lay that card down, the 9 down here, because it started with a 9, I know that my column is finished. Yoo-hoo, we finished a column. All right, let's see what else we could do. You just continue playing until hopefully you make your columns. If you cannot play any cards, if you get to a point where you just cannot lay a card down, you have 2 options. You could move the last card in your column. So you could move the 9 or the 1 or the 6 to another column if it works. Or, and in this case, I don't see where it really works anywhere. So you could reshuffle your fans. So that's your other option. You'll just gather up all these cards over here, reshuffle them, lay them out again in fans of 3, and continue playing the game. You know you have won if you were able to use all your cards. This game cannot be won if an error is made. And using some strategy, a player can win about 3/4 of the time. I say strategy, a little bit of luck, because like we saw, there was multiple numbers sometimes that you could choose from. Sometimes you just pick one thinking you're doing the right thing, but you won't know until you get to a point where you can't play anymore. Or you end up making all your columns and you win. Best of all, these games provide lots of fun. It's a pleasurable way of learning. And I will be honest, my oldest son, I would tell him, let's play a game. He's like, Mom, these are not games. I'm like, well, what are they? He says they're exercises. Airsoft is a game. So I just had a laugh. I'm like, okay, let's go do an exercise. He's like, okay. So for him, the wording, but he still enjoyed these much better than doing flashcards or worksheets, even though he didn't necessarily think of them as a game to him. And check this out. 97 of the 100 addition facts are used in this game. Only 0 plus 0, 5 plus 0, and 5 plus 5 are omitted. So this is considered an advanced addition game. And you're going to want to play this with a child who has been exposed to addition facts up to 9 plus 9. There are 9 variations of this game available. So one of those variations is the short chain subtraction solitaire. And it's played pretty much just like the addition one. You're going to use the same amount of cards as you did in the short chain addition game, but notice your second row is different with the numbers. Your first row is still the same, but the second row has a different set of numbers. Again, you're going to provide the 2 rows for the child to do. Now, this time, instead of adding, we're going to be subtracting. And notice 1 minus 2 is not 9. So we're going to assume there is a 1 in the tens place when needed. So here we have 11 minus 2, which is 9. Here we would have 12 minus 9, which is 3. 9 minus 3 is 6. And again, it continues all the way through. And you'll know you finish a column when you have a 1 at the bottom because you started with the 1 at the top. You have your 3, your 3, your 9, your 9, your 7, your 7. So you know your column is finished when this bottom number is the same as what you started with at the top. This is a game that's in progress. So if you can't play any more cards, remember, you can shuffle up the fans, redistribute them, and continue playing. And of course, to win, all your cards need to be in a column. All right, let's move on to multiplication. This is a multiplication chart, and many kids looking at this will be overwhelmed at all these facts. It may even appear something more like this. It's blurred before their eyes. All right, so what about this chart? This is still a multiplication chart, but it's not as intimidating. It's a short multiplication chart. And if you shade it, shading it in will help to see the groups of 5, which makes it easier to find your answer. So here's some examples. 6 times 6. So I'm going to go to 6. I'm going to count over 6. Now, this is where the shading comes in handy. If I know that this is 5, the white is 5, I don't necessarily need to count. I can just see the 5 and 1 more makes 6. It's 36. Of course, some children aren't as familiar with that, so it might take some practice, but hopefully they'll see that pattern. Here we have 4 times 8. I'm going to start at the 4. I'm going to count over 8. Uh-oh, I can't keep going over 4 or 8. I can only go over 4. Well, now I have to go down 4 more. So notice I started going over until I got to the end, and then I needed to go down, and that will give me the correct answer of 32. How about 7 times 9? I'm going to go start at 7. I'm going to go over. I can go over 7, and then I go down 2 more for 9, so the answer is 63. And of course, you could always do it the opposite way. You could start at 9 and go over 7. Same answer. So this is an advanced multiplication game, Ring Around the Products. This will provide the players with an opportunity to review most of the multiplication facts, kind of similar to the short chain solitaire, where you learn most of your addition facts, although this is played differently. It's best to play with 2 to 4 players. This is also one of those games that's really easy to adapt as a solitaire game. You're going to need multiplication cards and then a deck of basic number cards. So the student can make their own multiplication cards. You're going to take your index cards. I would suggest cutting it in half to make it more manageable. And so your first set will be the multiples of 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 10. Then you'll do another set of 2s. So you're going to write on the cards. You'll have a 2 on one card, a 4 on another card, a 6, an 8, all the way up to 20. You're going to do that for the numbers 1 through 10. So you're going to end up with 100 cards. Then your basic number cards are just going to be numbers 1 through 10. You're not going to use any zeros in this game. Of course, the goal is to collect the most. If a child needs it, let them use the multiplication table while they're still mastering their facts. You're going to shuffle the multiplication cards together, and then in the center of the playing area, you want to place 6 multiplication cards face up. If you notice here, they are in 2 rows of 3. And then around those cards, you're going to put 14 basic number cards face up also. Now notice our cards are different colors. Our multiplication cards are blue. Our basic number cards are green. You may want to consider doing that if you're making your own deck of cards, because then it's going to be easier to tell which ones are the multiplication cards. The first player is going to check the basic number cards for pairs that will equal the inside card. So here we are starting with the product of 54. And remember, the word product is the answer for a multiplication problem. If your child is unsure which 2 numbers multiplied together equal 54, they can look at their chart. And they can come over here and they can see, they go to the left, it would be 9, 9, 6 times. Or they could have went up. Remember, they get to the top, they can't go any further, so now they have to go over to the left. They see that it's 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. So they're looking at the green cards to see if there is a 9 and a 6. And there is, yay! So now you're going to take those cards and you'll lay them down. Before I go any further, I do want to say, if you have an advanced child or an older student, you could make this a little bit more challenging where they have to pick out more than just 2 cards. For example, instead of a 6, they would have to pick out the 3 and 2, because 3 times 2 makes 6, and then the 9. So 3 times 2 times 9. Or they do 3 times 3 times 6. So it makes it a little bit more challenging. And when I have an older child playing with a younger student, or an advanced student playing with one who's just starting, I will have them do that. One, it makes it more exciting for that advanced or older student. 2, I think it makes it a little bit more fair for the one who's just beginning. So they're going to take you're going to take the cards you pick, you lay them out. Again, it's reinforcing, it's giving you that visual. 6 times 9 is 54. And of course, you could have laid it out 9 times 6. It doesn't really matter. It works both ways. So now I'm going to look at the 12. Let's see, my 12 on the chart. Ooh, that's 4 and times 3. Oh, I have a 3. I don't have a 4. Oh, wait, there's another way I could do this. Look, there's another 12 on the chart. It's 6 times 2. Ooh, I have it. I can lay it down because 2 times 6 is 12. Let me go to 42. Let me look on the chart. 42, I go over 7, 7, 6 times. Ooh, or I could go up and over. That's 6, 7 times. Oh, I have a 7. I don't have a 6. Can't play it. 50, 50, 50. Oh, look, 50. Ooh, that's 10 times 5. I have a 5. Do not have a 10. Darn. Okay, 15. What can I do? 15. Ooh, 3 times 5. Ooh, I have it. I can lay it down. 3 times 5 is 15. I go to my 9. Let me see. 9, 3. 3 times 3 is 9. I have 1, 3. Oh, don't have another. Darn. Oh, wait. There's another way I can do it. Ooh, 9 times 1. Oh, I have a 1. Oh, don't have a 9. Okay. Well, my turn is over. Now, I could have played the 9 card before the 15, but to show this game, we went in order. When you are playing with your child, they can go in any order they want. So when the players Done. When they cannot find any more facts, it's the next player's turn. And so you replenish the cards. You're going to fill in the basic number cards. You're going to fill in your multiplication cards. If you're playing and you cannot find any facts at all, that player will skip their turn and they're going to replace the 4 corner cards. So the 7, the 1, the 3, and the 6, they're going to collect and then they're going to replace it with 4 more cards from the basic number card deck. And then it's the next person's turn and you continue. This is multiplication practice, and 10 to 15 minutes of playing a game is equivalent to doing a worksheet. So for a game like this, which could go on for a long time, I will give my children a choice. I will tell them, hey, I want you to go play this game for 15 minutes. If you're having fun and you want to continue, then continue. Hey, I want you to play this game for 15 minutes. If you're not enjoying it at the end of your 15 minutes, stop playing. It's no fun to continue playing a game if you're not enjoying it. And this game is like playing a game of war. Playing a game of war, a card game of war is fun, but for how long? It really depends on the person playing. You can also play this game and do it as a division practice. It is all in how you say the words. So here, we're going to have 42. We find our 42. 42 divided by 7. How many times does 7 go into 42? Well, it goes in 6 times. And then I look for my 7 and my 6. And I get to lay these out because 42 divided by 7 is 6. I love these kind of variations because it really makes the connection between multiplication and division so much more apparent. And again, you're not going to want to play your division game unless your child is pretty solid on their multiplication. Division war. Our objective is to find quotients quickly, and the word for quotient is just the answer for a division problem. The number of players for this is 2. You're going to use about 40 of your multiplication cards and then an equal number of the basic number cards, but no zeros. Of course, the game, you want to collect the most cards. But take a note here just for a second. Division is much more than just the inverse of multiplication. The quick recognition of division facts is not sufficient. So here's an example. You're going to be dividing by 6. You need to recognize that 48, as well as 49, 50, 51, 52, and 53 will give you the 8 as a quotient. So for example, 48 divided by 6 is 8. Well, 50 divided by 6 is also 8. However, it's going to have a remainder. So all these numbers can have the quotient of 8, but some of them are going to have a remainder. And so when you play this game, you could play it a couple different ways. Now, the first way I'm showing you how to play it, we're not going to really worry or be concerned about the remainder. Because this is an advanced division game, you do want to make sure the children are pretty solid on their multiplication. However, maybe they're a little iffy. You can always bring in the chart, the multiplication chart, if you need to. You're going to shuffle the multiplication cards, deal them equally to both players. You're going to do the same for the basic number cards 1 through 10. Both players will turn over 1 of each card. Now, when you're doing this, the greater number is the dividend and the lower number is what you are dividing by. So for here, it's going to be 40 divided by 6 because 40 is the greater of the numbers. Over here, it's 36 divided by 4. Sometimes your multiplication card, because you have like a 2 or you may have a 1, is going to be smaller. If that's the case, then this will be the number it's going to be divided into. So let's just say, for example, this was a 4. Then it would be 6 divided by 4. So don't automatically assume that the green number is going to be divided into the blue number, or whatever colors you chose to use. It's the smaller number that's going to be divided into the larger number. So both will do the division mentally and then announce their quotient. So here we have 40 divided by 6. I don't know. Maybe I need to use my chart. I can see the 6. I'm going to go over. 42 is too much. 36 is not quite 40. So I know it's going to go into 40 at least 6 times with a remainder. And again, our focus is not on the remainder. Our focus is what is the quotient. So then the next player is looking at theirs, 36 divided by 4. If they need to use the chart, there they have it. Remember, if we start at 36, we're going to go up. You can't go any higher. So then I know once I hit that area where there's nothing above it, I can go to the left. I can see 36 divided by 4. That's a 9. Or I can look at it this way. 36, go over 4 is a 9. So my quotient is 9. The other player's quotient is 6. Who gets the cards? Person with the 9, because they had the highest quotient. So they collect the cards, and then the game continues. You flip them over. Again, another one of those games where you could either play for a set amount of time or until they get tired of playing. There are some variations to this game. So rather than the person with the greater quotient taking all the cards, you can have the person with the greater remainder take all the cards. So in the previous game, we had one who had a 6 with a remainder of 4. The other had a quotient of 9 with a remainder of 0. So really the person who had the remainder of 4 would have gotten to take the cards. So it's just another way of getting to play. It's just what your focus is on. So in conclusion, games provide instant feedback. I can always tell when my children were getting it or if they needed more practice when we were playing math games. Games provide interesting repetition needed for automatic responses. Games, they are a fun way to review as well as learn. So older kids can play with the younger. You could get grandma and grandpa involved. If you have a surplus of players, they can team up as partners so everyone can enjoy the fun. And more importantly, games provide application for the new information. They are a great motivator for your child to know their facts, especially if they're playing with an older sibling or dad. I know my boys or my kids all always used to, I can't wait till dad gets home so I can show them this or tell him this, and so if they could sit down and get to play a game with them and especially, get to show off their ability, that's always a motivator. In addition to the game being an application of the facts, this time also develops a positive feeling for math. Our brains attach motions to events, even if they seem unrelated. So if something's enjoyable, something's pleasant, it's more fun, you're going to remember things better. In conclusion, here's a quote by Dr. Joan A. Cotter. Our goal as a teacher of mathematics is to help our children transform, expand, and refine these beginning ideas into deeper mathematical thinking. Arithmetic is one of over 200 branches of mathematics. When children enjoy and understand math, they are more likely to pursue deeper mathematical thinking. Playing math games helps our children to associate math with enjoyment. Plus, the games help our children to become more confident in their abilities. So start playing some math games with your children. And I'll end with this. My 2 youngest boys needed more work with their fractions. I looked at a few resources and decided to try playing math card games with them. We spent 6 weeks at the beginning of a school year doing nothing math related but playing various fraction card games. By the end of that time, my boys were solid on their fractions. And there were times when I had to use paper and pencil to keep track. They were able to do it mentally. And I knew that if I was using paper and pencil and they were able to keep up with it mentally, they were really truly understanding their facts. Can you teach math with card games? Yes, you can. Now go have some fun with your children and find a math game to play with them. Thank you.